So now, let me just point. Turning now to Brad Parscale, a name some of you may have forgotten at this point, but let's put this up here on the screen. He was, of course, Donald Trump's campaign manager. For years, he raised...
Wow, so in according to Times, Trump's ex-campaign manager is running an Israeli influence operation targeting the MAGA base. Yeah, I know, they're paying MAGA to literally be the most pro-Zionist, pro-Israel buffoons on the internet.
Hundreds of millions of dollars. He himself had quite a bit of controversy at the time. And so what has he been doing in his retirement? Well, we've known this for quite some time, but Time magazine really dug into the details. Trump's ex-campaign manager, Brad Parscale, is running an Israeli influence operation targeting the MAGA base. So let me read in case you have not heard of any of this before. Last September, the global ad agency Havas hired Brad Parscale's firm Clock Tower X to conduct a digital campaign on behalf of the state of Israel. This is according to the Foreign Agents Registration Act filings, which were reviewed by Time magazine. Under Parscale's operation, he would produce 100...
Okay, this is well sourced.
Original pieces of content each month with aimed at least 80% for Gen Z audiences across TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and podcasts. In a services agreement, Parscale pledged to amplify the campaign across social media, integration of narrative messaging into the Salem Media Network properties, and aligned distribution channels, which refers to the Christian Conservative Broadcasting and Publishing Company, where he is the chief strategy officer. He vowed that the effort would produce at least 50 million digital impressions per month, as well as influence how AI tools such as OpenAI's ChatGPT, Anthropic's Claude, and Google's Gemini characterized Israel and the war. For all of this, they agreed to pay some $1.5 million per month. And so what you can see here is that you had a nearly 40 to...
You could spread a lot of propaganda with that type of money a month.
50 million.
You could pay a lot of influencers and the top ones to spread pro-Israel propaganda for a while, damn near for their entire scene on, social media for $1.7 million. So all these MAGA influencers that I tell you, which I used to be one, so I'm gonna tell you right now, yo, a lot of these guys are getting paid to spread pro-Israel propaganda, like this straight up. And sadly, they're now connecting it to the Trump administration, so they can't go outside of it.
$1 ad campaign, which has now been running for years in the background, exclusively targeted at the MAGA base to keep them from staying on side whenever it comes to the issue of Israel. Now, we don't really know, who exactly has been ensnared in all of this, but some of the names are at least familiar to those of us on Twitter. So, for example, it is not clear how much Brad Parscale has actually paid individual influencers as part of this campaign. Other recent influenceable campaigns have offered them a base payment of $2,250 plus $1 for every 1,000 views, up to $2 million, allowing them to earn as much as $4,250 per post.
Damn.
Per post. So let's say and extrapolate this from Twitter. I'll just give people an example. Both of us are Twitter blue, not by choice, by the way. It's like we were just kind of given it to us. And so I can see what my creator, output or whatever is. What for all of my tweets in a month, we earn, and all the funds go to the company. It's like $300 for every tweet that I put out. And I haven't looked at the average impression or any of that, but I'm sure it probably, at least some of the more viral ones would meet this standard. So they are paying 10 times market value, so to speak, all for pro-Israel messaging, which is all being used and coordinated by Parscale and this influence operation, all on behalf of the state of Israel. I will say one noteworthy piece, as an Israeli official actually said he didn't even do a good job.
Yeah, the Israelis are like, look at our...
guys, we do have a problem, though. Yeah, when the U.S. struck that bridge, we struck it while cars and civilians were going across from it. So we are kind of waiting for the death toll of striking that bridge. And this is why striking bridges are considered a war crime. Because, bro, you think you're not going to catch citizens on it?
Rating in the U.S. This is not working. You young people hate us, whether they're on the right or the left. So you're not. What are you doing with this money? It's not working. Yeah.
Right. So at least one funny karmic thing in here is that the Israelis are bitching that they didn't get enough value for their money and paying. So yeah, I mean, okay. Brad Parscale got really rich, so that's good. Good for him. Go buy a couple more mansions in South Florida. But it is still noteworthy because it reveals how there are so many people who, and usually the ones accusing us and others of being Qatari agents, or who actually are on the payroll. Now, I'm not going to say on the payroll of a foreign government because it's laundered. It's like, to an American thing. But ultimately, the cash, if you were to trace it back, would be to either the Israeli government or some friends of the Israeli government. And more importantly, it's inorganic, like in terms of what they're posting. And usually it's the people who have the most vicious accusations. It's really a confession. The very people who want to accuse Tucker Carlson or our show or other. Yeah, I just had this recently. It's like your pro-terror funded media outlet. And I often just want to be like, okay, let's both of us, we'll independently audited our tax returns. Let's see who's got money coming from a foreign, because it ain't me. Man, I can guarantee you that, and they would never put up with any of that.
Yeah. I mean, it is very, it's first of all, so what a sleazy guy, like so disgusting. And it really does, we're about to play a JD Vance clip on Joe Rogan. Like it really is aimed at undercutting the negotiations and any sort of potential diplomacy process. Immediately after the MOU was signed, you saw all of these right-wing influencers. We don't know technically whether they were all paid or not, but a bunch of them, similar language.
Bro, they all use the same word, the same language, especially when it comes to coming at Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, defending the Fed slop of the Tyler Robinson case. I mean, when it comes to defending Israel, genocide in Gaza, and all this crazy stuff, they're all on board, and they all basically say the same thing and use the same words. Yeah, they're getting paid.
Attacking the MOU, saying it was a disaster.
MAGA has been bought, guys. That's why I left.
Disaster for the US, all this very coordinated looking messaging coming from the right-wing influencer community. But also, I think like this is one very important vector. I need you guys to understand how much of messaging in the right-wing media influencer space is paid for. Like there was another incident, remember we covered it when there was all of a sudden this very coordinated messaging around some soda issue. And they talk about this in Time magazine. You'll see things like that pop up where you're like, where did this come from? Or there was this coordinated attack on Harley motorcycles that appears to have been funded by their competitor. And you all of a sudden had all of these right-wing influencers who were like deeply passionate about how Harley Davidson has gone woke, which was preposterous and like based on literally nothing. But you'll see this. And I'm not going to say there's none of that on the left, but I can tell you it's not the same. It genuinely isn't. You had a whole scandal about the chorus influencer community. That was a thing. But I'm telling you, you do not have the same level of expectation that you can just buy people and this is commonplace and accepted among the right-wing media influencer class. We interviewed Kyle
and she's not wrong. That's a sad reality. Among the right-wing influencer class, bro, these guys are literally taking money just to make exposes to try to convince you that some type of atrocity is going on. It's like, dog, like, I'm sorry, but like I can name a decent amount of examples and how they just sit there and spit the same thing, complete defense of Trump, no criticism whatsoever. Bro, all the same accounts was trying to snub the Iran deal, all the same accounts pushing, Muslim takeover in America. It's all the same accounts. It's crazy how nobody like sees that or calls it out, especially in the MAGA.
I interviewed Ashley St. Clair, Elon Musk's ex
paramour.
Yeah, ex about this, all of this. Anymore. And she was talking about how, she'd be in these group chats, and this is just how it works.
Crazy.
So when you had that scandal involving Tim Pool and some other influencers who were like getting the shady money, they were like, what's the problem? Everybody does this. This is just normal. This is how we operate. So I don't know. It's really wild, but people need to understand that what you're seeing on Twitter or the content that's being produced, video content that's being produced, that is not necessarily just coming because of their neutral analysis. Right. Oftentimes, there is someone behind the scenes who has a perspective, has an interest, who is paying them to say what they are saying.
I've been on the receiving end of this. So somebody called me and said, I know you really are passionate about sports betting. Would you be willing to post against a sports betting piece of legislation? I was like, I don't accept money for posts. Just tell me about it. and maybe I'll post about it or not. I don't get paid for Twitter or for anything, you know? And I go, wait, out of curiosity, because I would love to meet this person, who is paying to lobby against sports betting legislation? And they said, oh, well, we're working for the prediction markets. And I was like, oh, so the prediction markets are paying people to lobby against legal sports betting so they can be the only option. That's the level of scumbaggery which is happening out there. Of course, I just said no. I don't want your blood money. Basically, I also didn't even end up posting about it just because it's so skeevy and so disgusting. But that's a perfect example. And then the way that they justify this stuff is there's always like soda. They're like, oh, who cares? Okay, sure, I'll take a few dollars here and there. At one point, I saw there was this whole scandal over India. Like the government of India or somebody had been paying these influencers or some firm on their behalf because Indians were under attack by a lot of these groiper types. And so a bunch of
they were pretty much talking about how they were just taking over through H-1B visas. They damn near took over Canada and they're trying to do the same thing in America. But for some reason, they want you to focus on the Muslims when the highest number of immigration during the past couple of years has came out of India. So what are we over here complaining about a Muslim takeover when all of our immigration comes from India and Mexico? If you're hung up on immigration,
these right-wing accounts started posting on behalf of India, and then they got attacked and they deleted and apologized.
Yeah, bro, it was MAGA accounts pretty much simping for India, and I'm just like simping for India so they can push anti-Muslim propaganda as well. I was like, wow, you guys know no shame.
I mean, I know this all may sound, a little bit Byzantine, but this really does matter in terms of taste making, I think, on the right.
Well,
and that's why it's important.
Yes, and especially now you have, it's a wild, wild west in terms of journalism and media, which in some ways is great. That's why we exist, right? It's enabled our ability to create the show and reach an audience and all those sorts of things. But don't leave your media analysis behind. Right. We all understand, or viewers of this show, I think, understand the way that corporate media is influenced by their advertisers and by access journalism and by the sort of journalists that they even select to be at those organizations and who's able to succeed and rise to the top. Like, we understand all of that. In a lot of ways, in quote unquote independent media ecosystem, the incentives are vastly worse because at least at corporate media, there was a line between the people who were selling the ads and the people who were presenting.
This, you're fired, like at CNN.
Absolutely. Right? Yeah, absolutely. You get caught for taking direct corporate money or from any sort of interest and then providing a viewpoint based on that. You would be out the door. Here, it's just commonplace. It's just.
Hey, at least he had a little bit of integrity there. A little bit. Shout out to my man Jed. He says no difference than the left paying AK for pro-Hamas BS. Facts. No difference. No difference whatsoever. Because like I said, there's influencer campaigns on both sides. Both sides, guys. Like, that's just the facts of the matter right there. And you low-key got to be able to pick it out. But here's the thing, though. This kind of makes things a little bit more confusing now because think about it, Jed. Like, I'm not pro-Hamas, but I sit there and I defend Palestinian rights and people try to call me pro-Hamas. They try to say I'm paid, but no, that's not the case. I could sit there and criticize Hamas and also speak up for the rights of the Palestinian people and their sovereignty. So I do think that people do got to deeper investigate people's true intentions or actually ask some questions on their beliefs instead of, oh, well, I hear something I don't like. Oh, they must be paid. Because that's what it's going to start leading to. Is everybody thinking that everybody paid. And let's be real, that just ain't true. They ain't got enough money out here to pay everybody. Oh, and shout out.
Razor blade in your mouth, green stuff in your stuff, Philly blunts in your purse, but that ain't enough. Turning liquor bottles up with your mane as we dip. Turn right, turn left, each corner take a sip. Say what's up to the big pussy clicking Hyde Park. Learn up and the Nora and those who got hard.
And if you got any question, comment, jokes, or disagreements, you can go ahead and super chat it in. I'll be happy to read it out loud. He's like, can you name Wayne damn influencer? Actually, one prominent one. What was it? It's that one on what's his name on X? Because this man be's posting some outrageous stuff. One paid left-wing influencer. That's actually a pretty good question. I would actually ask that of somebody on the left because I'm just started hanging out on the left wing side. I can name the right because that's where I come from. But what's his name? Krasenstein, I think his last name is. Krasenstein, bro, he be getting paid like for posting BS all the time. Even if it's not credible or anything, as long as it got that TDS tone or as long as it's pushing a left-wing agenda, bro will just post anything. It's like anything left, this man just supports. It's like you can tell he has like no like type of free thinking outside of just left-wing talking points. And it's like, damn, like come on now. You can't agree with them 100%. But I mean, that's how you kind of can tell when they agree with their party 100%.
Become an accepted part of the ecosystem to have this sort of direct, undisclosed pay for play. So it was, this is an important story, obviously, because of how consequential the decision making around the Iran war is ultimately. And so it was interesting to hear JD Vance talking to Joe Rogan about this. And Vance, of course, was the one who sent out to do the negotiations and was trying to present to Rogan this idea that like, oh yeah, we're bombing them again, but I promise we're getting back to the negotiating table. We'll see if that works out. In any case, he had a lot to say about this foreign influence operation that is being run to undermine the negotiations. Let's take a listen to that.
But I definitely think you have seen this very discreet, extremely well-funded campaign to try to derail the negotiation and try to derail the deal. And, there's this Time article that came out yesterday. A friend sent it to me. It's like worth reading because it lists a bunch of people who have quite literally been paid by a former Trump campaign person who was himself paid by certain elements within the Israeli government. And those people are attacking me viciously for quite literally trying to accomplish the negotiation objective that the president set for the country. So
what is their position? Like, are they attacking you how?
Oh, it's social media posts. It's, they're leaking to reporters. They're attacking me obsessively, saying that we should not be negotiating with Iran. We should just keep the military campaign going indefinitely. Let's say certain elements of the Israeli government want to criticize the deal or have disagreements about the deal. I don't even mind an effort to try to influence, foreign governments try to influence the United States all the time. Israel does it, other countries do it. It's just sort of the nature of the beast. What bothers me is actually when Americans meaning American leadership allows that influence to affect their judgment and to affect what they are advocating for.
So now, let me just point out that his boss took how much money from Mary Mandelson for his campaign, and then you have the audacity to be like, oh, the money and the influence. It's like the influencing politicians. That's what's really terrible. I don't know. That's a lot for me to swallow.
Fair. I will say the reason why, it's kind of interesting that you would call it out in the first place. The reason why is I don't think he would if it weren't actually influential on his ability to negotiate and within the administration. Because I can tell you how this all works. This all happens.
Yeah, you got these paid influencers with big followings pushing this pro-Israel propaganda, pushing, oh no, the MOU we can't go by. We need to go back into war. It's like, what can you really do as the vice president? It's like you got the whole media against you, trying to pretty much bring down a deal that you're trying to sell to the American people. And he was doing a decent job, but look where we're at. So it wasn't good enough.
Right now, because JD basically just said the same stuff on Rogan they always says about Israel. It's like, look, look at that. And this is why it's so tortured and why, in my opinion, the pro-Israel position just ultimately has to collapse. So you have to twist yourself into knots of like, I don't even mind if they try, as every other country tries. It's like fucking Estonia is not trying as much. Estonia does not have nearly as much influence. Did you know we have more of a legal responsibility to protect Estonia than we do Israel? Do people even know that? But I think both are nuts, just so you know. But, just in terms of the level of influence. My point around this is those posts are all you, and I know how this works, to the extent that I tweet it all, because I really don't much anymore. I only really do it to either put an opinion out there, like for fun, like weed or daylight savings, or to influence a debate in the White House. Because I know that these posts get surfaced and passed around in group chats and in others to influence the debate against each other. That's why Laura Loomer does what she does. That's why she's out today attacking Joe Rogan, Mark Levin, Randy Fine. And just to show you all how important this stuff is.
Yeah, it's like literally as soon as you criticize Israel and you're a big enough name, they're coming full force at you. That's why people are getting paid to attack Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens, and they use the same talking points or they say the same thing. She's demonic. She's evil. God hates her. It's just like wild shit. Wild shit right there. Tucker Carlson, Qatari, was it Qatari Carlson, Qatari agent? They all say the same thing without being able to substantiate any of it, but they just say it. They just say it, and it's like easily see through.
Line administration.
It's incredibly
and JD
incestuous.
Vance is really like the pinnacle of that online nature. I mean, that is really how he developed a lot of his view and became prominent in the right-wing media ecosystem space.
Yeah. So what I mean is, yes, he rode the online space to the Senate and arguably, I would say, to the vice presidency. Yes. And largely, that's what set him apart from a lot of the other people who were GOP politicians. What I find fascinating, though, is let's put this one up here on the screen from Randy Fine, the senator the congressman from Tel Aviv, aka Florida. But here he says, Randy Fine has now told White House officials he will vote against every rule on the floor, which, just so you know, rule on the floor is like how you bring legislation. So this is a major pain in the ass for Mike Johnson and for the GOP, because what this means is that they will have much more difficulty advancing legislation, especially when you have such a narrow majority that's in the House of Representatives. What he says is he'll vote it until Trump fires Alex Bruesewitz. So Alex Bruesewitz, a name some of you may not know, he was kind of the podcast whisperer of the Trump campaign in 2024. He was the one behind Theo Vaughn, Joe Rogan, the Andrew Schultz interview, like a lot of stuff, which, look, you say whatever you want. It obviously worked tremendously to Trump's benefit and kind of set a cultural vibe of Donald Trump ahead of the election. Bruesewitz has been one of the people who has been most vociferously attacking the Brad Parscale, or not even attacking, pointing out a lot of these pro-Israel influencers are all being paid off and saying you're undermining the administration. How dare you not trust Donald Trump? So Randy Fine finds it so important to fire this person who is just elevating the fact that pro-Israel influencers are being paid and that Parscale himself is being paid, that he is going to vote against every piece of legislation until Bruesewitz is fired by Trump as an advisor. We don't know how long and how far this is going to go, but I just do think—
Oh, that is crazy. It's like, bro, that's extremely irresponsible of Randy Fine. Honestly, as a representative, you're going to start voting no on things that can help the American people over a personal vendetta. Yeah, you should lose your seat immediately over that. But apparently the people in Florida are brainwashed by this guy. They just vote him in.
I think that this is incredibly noteworthy for how he sees how Randy himself, of course, one of the most pro-Israel one of the most pro-Israel politicians in the GOP, he sees this so as vital to his influence operation. And this has now been endorsed by Mark Levin, who's like, great job. Randy Fine. So you can see how for them, they find Twitter and like the battle of ideas there that takes place, as well as here in podcast, so important, because what they need is to elevate this and show that there's actually more backlash against diplomacy than there actually is. Because if we were to actually ask the American people, do you support diplomatic efforts? They're like, yes, of course, no question, right? And for Trump, because he's such a blank slate, they always try to they attack JD whenever they can't attack Trump, or they use Trump to attack JD. And this is all part of what's going on right now. So, and it's very noteworthy.
This is a separate issue. I think Fox News is a big problem for diplomacy too, because they're still beating the drums of war. It's like the one thing that they'll be critical of Trump on. And, but I also want people to understand it's not just like—
Now that is crazy. Like the one thing Fox News disagreed with Trump on was a memorandum of understanding and stopping this war. Isn't that crazy? But all right, though, let's go to move past.